And you're waking up with Damo here on 4WK. It is 13 minutes, almost 12 minutes to 8 o'clock. And, of course, it is time for our History Out There. We do that with Harold Peacock, who is on the line this morning. G'day, mate.
Yes, good morning, Damo. It's a beautiful morning. I woke up breathing. It's always good.
Exactly, mate. A good start to the day. But this is a great story, taking us all the way back in time to 1848.
Yes, that's when the Supreme Court, it appeared, gave into the judgment of God. In fact, it's quite clear to me. But anyway, I'll tell you the story. In 1848, there was a fatal affray at Mr. Marsh's sheep station, Maryland, just 10 miles from Stanthorpe. And it was between two men in Mr. Marsh's employment, one of whom was killed. Now, Matthew Marsh, he'd selected that run of about 80,000 acres in 1844. And he was like one of the big names because he was the first European to travel through the district between Dalveen and Warwick. And that was years before Warwick was even thought of. And he'd become a member of the New South Wales Legislative Council and even the House of Lords in England. And it was one of his men that died because of God. Now, the two employees in the affray were shearers John Doyle and William Hardcastle. Now, it was the bigger man, Doyle, who met his death. The two men had a row the night before and fought one round. Then Doyle challenged Hardcastle to fight him for £5 the following morning. That's over a month's pay back then. And Hardcastle, well, he reluctantly agreed. Now, a year or so later, Hardcastle was destined to meet his own fate because, he was arrested for leaning over the bar at Brisbane's first pub and pinching some money. And while he was in jail, he was blinded with inflammation in the eye, and so he was discharged on his own recognizance. But fate caught up with him, and within a few months, he was dead. And meanwhile, for the £5 fight, there were two seconds appointed. Now, James Short was appointed second for Doyle, and William Kirby for Hardcastle. Now, these were two characters as well, because I think they knew one another, because years later, James Short was employed by Kirby Brothers in Rockhampton, where he died a lonely death in a boarding house. And meanwhile, the other second, William Kirby, well, a few years later, on his way to a shearing job at Gundawindi, his horse galloped him into a low branch and smashed his brains out and killed him instantly. So there's a rough time back then.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the £5 fight. And after that, Doyle was found dead, and so the authorities were left with no alternative but to arrest Hardcastle, the fighter, and the two seconds, Short and Kirby. Now, the magistrate at Warwick, he was George Leslie. He was one of the brothers who first settled the Darling Downs. He committed all three of them to trial for willful murder. But because of, back then the mail was delivered to Brisbane only once a fortnight, the three of them had to bide the time in Brisbane jail waiting for the paperwork to catch up with them in the mail.
Right.
So if you think the mail delivery is bad these days, just go back to 1840.
Yes.
But look, finally in Sydney's Central Criminal Court, the charges were updated to manslaughter and the trial got underway. Now, evidence was given that the fight took place at 6 o'clock in the morning. Now, neither of the participants fell in the first round. Hardcastle fell in the second, and both fell in the third round and were picked up by their seconds. It was testified, now this is a crucial point, it was testified that Doyle the night before had said, "God struck me dead if I don't beat you in 5 minutes."
Right.
Now, the fight went for 10 minutes.
Oh.
And after the fall of the third round, well, Doyle's second, Short, he stepped in and ended the fight. Doyle was carried to his hut. He died about 3 or 4 o'clock the next morning, and there was not a mark on him.
Wow.
So hearing his statement the night before, the jury gave a verdict of not guilty, so the prisoners were discharged. And God had indeed struck him dead as he'd wished.
Wow. Divine intervention, that's what I say.
Well, it was amazing that testimony that he'd asked God to strike him dead if he didn't win in 5 minutes, that was really taken on board by the jury. And the fight took 10, so decision made.
I wonder if it'll work these days.
Well, you can give it a go, Damo.
Well, I don't know. I'm not really a fighter, that's for sure.
You're a lover.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mate, where are we going to read this story?
Yeah, well, you can find History Out there on Facebook. Instagram, X and YouTube, but you can also go straight to the website, historyouthere.com.
All right, historyouthere.com, and you can check it out there. Or alternatively, you can also jump onto the Facebook page and have a little look there. And, of course, the Facebook page has always got interesting historical elements on it there as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, I always add a little bit extra because you go to those other socials. I find other photos and things I can post of these people and little stories in between times because, like Damon, I think we've done, 47 different stories on the Darling Downs now, and there's so a lot more, and there's actually a lot of stories I just can't fit in. Sometimes they're not appropriate or something like that, but I still do a few little photos and things that you can still find on Facebook and so on.
You certainly can. And, of course, if anyone's got any historical leads out there that they would like us to follow, then they can email us at 4wkstudio@gmail.com, and we'll pass them on to Harold, won't we?
Absolutely. I love researching that. The people that are forgotten by the official histories, that's what I like to unsurface. Like these guys back in the 1840s. There's so much history went on there that's just unsurfaced today.
Yeah, exactly. Appreciate it, mate. We'll look forward to catching up again next week.
See you then.
There we go. Harold Peacock from History Out There. Check it out there on the website, historyouthere.com, and read up on that story and many others. We'll take a break, come back with more in a moment.